with stock to flow models, you can still make a $50,000, $100,000 a coin forecast. Do you think those eventually come true, or is this just one big house of cards across the board, Susie? And I'm sure that you don't think it's a house of cards, but do we push the time frame out for when it happens?
I think, well, first of all, as you said, I don't think it's a house of cards. There are fundamental technologies that are much better than the tools we had to transact, to raise money, to do global payments, etc. So there's fundamental technologies that are much better than the tools we had before. So it's definitely not a house of cards.
Hello and welcome back to Cryptollennium. This is part 2 of today's coverage. Check out our previous upload as you won't want to have missed it. But in this video, we have some extremely concerning updates for you. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and let's dig in. As you can see, Bitcoin is looking pretty calm, but I would say this is the calm before a potentially catastrophic storm, and it is looming upon us quicker and quicker. Why? Just in Genesis $2.8 billion lending unit halts withdrawals, citing FTX collapse. Now, if you don't know what Genesis is, I'll tell you, it is the biggest crypto lending firm in existence. They've existed since 2013, and let's take a look at their history. If this is really the end for Genesis, this could be more impactful than FTX. FTX hurt liquid funds and consumers. Genesis impacts nearly every company in crypto. Let's dig in. For those of you who aren't familiar, Genesis has started as the first OTC Bitcoin desk in 2013. They're now crypto's largest lending desk. Genesis, part of DCG, Barry Silbert's holding company that owns CoinDesk, Foundry, Genesis, Grayscale, and Luno. DCG also runs a huge VC firm. At the height of the market, Genesis was moving size. Check out these Q4 2021 numbers. 50 billion in loan originations, 12.5 billion active loans, 31 billion spot volume traded, and 21 billion derivatives traded. This is in one quarter, okay? Then 3AC happened over the summer. Genesis was the biggest creditor to Three Arrows Capital, having lent them a whopping $2.4 billion. Genesis then filed a $2.1 billion claim against Three Arrows Capital. DCG, the parent company, stepped in and assumed the $1.2 billion claim, leaving Genesis with no outstanding liabilities tied to Three Arrows Capital. And as you can see, Wall Street Journal covered this. But then things continued to unravel. Genesis also had large exposure to Babel Finance and CeFi platform that got hit. The CeFi platform that got hit hard in the June unwind. In August, longtime CEO Michael Morrow resigned. Nearly everyone I know who was at Genesis is no longer there. That is never a good sign. By Q3 2022, their numbers had fallen drastically. 8.4 billion in loan originations, 2.4 billion active loans, 18.7 spot traded volume, and 9.6 billion derivatives traded. Tremendous crash from their previous numbers. So why is the downfall of Genesis so bad? Well, it's funny you should ask. Dozens of companies like Gemini and Genesis, dozens of companies like Gemini use Genesis to help their consumers earn yield. So if you're a centralized platform that offers yield, you probably use Genesis. Using some rough numbers and simplifying the process a bit, here's how it works. You give your crypto to Gemini. Gemini gives your crypto to Genesis. And Genesis is who we're focusing on, so stay with me. Genesis lends your crypto to a fund, and the fund borrows from Genesis X plus 2%. Genesis gives Gemini X plus 1%. Gemini gives you X%. Voila! You now earn yield. So if you want to pause, take a look at this, some good information about what does Gemini earn and how it works. But this only works if counterparties that Genesis lent to can actually repay their borrow. If Genesis can't get their crypto back, they can't give the crypto back to Gemini or insert any other crypto to the centralized platform, which means Gemini can't give you your crypto. Not good. Beyond that, nearly every whale this person knows that plays in crypto moves money to Genesis. Instead of earning yield on the BlockFis and the Geminis of the world. They give it directly to Genesis to earn yield because they are such big players. Now those institutions, family offices, and whales can't get their crypto back. And it is safe to say that a lot of whale activity does prop this market up quite a bit. So if we're having whales rug pulled right now, you may see another leg down on Bitcoin that we were not expecting. People were saying 10 to 12. We might see lower than that if this happens. And this is why Genesis is halting withdrawals, or halting withdrawals is so bad. They sit at the direct center of crypto capital markets. They custody funds, they help institutions earn yield, and they are the yield product for centralized platforms. It is not good. Where do we go from here? Hopefully DCG has the funds to backstop this. I would assume they don't, and that they're racing to raise money right now, right this second. They raised at $10 billion in November 2021, right at the start of this bear market. I'd guess they raise at a valuation roughly 10 to 20% of that. So $2 billion at the most. Stay safe out there. If you have funds on a centralized platform, think about going cold storage or using Ledger, using Ledger or even Trezor. If you really don't want to go cold storage, use Coinbase, long live DeFi, and Coinbase as well as Binance. If you check out our previous video, you'll see some very, very confidence instilling words by CZ on national television, just speaking about their reserves, how they use their native token, and what they do with leverage, if anything. And let's take a look at this. If you go down to this user on Twitter, you can take a look. They have a discussion link for more details on this story as it continues to unfold. And as you already know, we will be covering this on a day-to-day basis, so stay tuned. And with this, it has been noted, Multicoin expects FTX fallout to get worse. Many trading firms will be wiped out and shut down, which will put pressure on liquidity and volume through the crypto ecosystem. We have seen several announcements already on this front, but expect to see more. Company letter. Newly revealed docs show how FTX bought its way to become the most regulated centralized exchange. Now, why would they want to do this? So they can be in the good graces of the US government. So FTX bought a 10% stake in IX, giving it access to the SEC lobbying. Securities Exchange Commission, for those of you who don't know, they control all the public markets and make all the laws on trading. And spends about $2 billion on acquisitions for regulatory purposes. FTX then used this as a way of luring new capital from major investors. Not good. Because this makes the US government look bad as well. This will come down twofold on us if we continue to go in this trajectory. In other news just in, and this was the breaking news that we mentioned at the end of last video. This is still just happening. Bahamas Securities Commission says they have taken full control of all FTX digital assets. If we take a look here, you might have remembered this from a few days ago. It's all starting to blend together, but another bombshell drops. Securities Commission is now contradicting their prior claim that they had not directed funds to be removed or to be moved from FTX wallets. Because I remember SBF posted this, and then they came out and made a public statement saying that, hey, no, we didn't. They're going back, and they now admit to ordering FTX to drain all FTX digital markets assets into the commission's wallets, thus basically transferring everything that they have left to the Bahama government. If you want to pause, take a look, read this official statement for immediate release. This was just a few hours ago. Pause the video. Let us know how you feel about this. And as we move on, we take a look at a little bit more detail. So Bahamas Security Regulator takes full control of FTX digital assets. What does this mean? Well, nothing good. Nothing good. It's not as bad as what's going on with Genesis, but we will say on November 12th, Securities Commission of Bahamas took action directing the transfer of all assets of FTX digital markets to a digital wallet controlled by the commission for safekeeping. This was 5 days ago, and we're just now having it confirmed. Per the Commission, urgent interim regulatory action was essential to protect the interests of clients and creditors of FDM. The bankruptcy tangent. And we all know about this. It's, they filed for bankruptcy, Chapter 11 within the U.S. However, it seems like there might have been a jurisdiction dispute between the U.S. and the Bahamas. As we all know, FTX is actually based in the Bahamas, so the funds would be under the jurisdiction of the Bahamian government. Kind of a curveball there. It's kind of like a plot twist within 25 other plot twists. I don't know if I want any more plot twists, and so now reports have emerged that claiming the founder of FTX regrets his decision to file for bankruptcy. That was his biggest mistake. If you take a look at our previous video, once again, we cover the entire set of leaked messages, and this was kind of the cherry on top of those messages. So, in the statement, Commission of Bahamas also stated that it will engage with other regulators and authorities in multiple jurisdictions going forward to address matters affecting the creditors, clients, and stakeholders of FDM globally to obtain the best possible outcome. This is Cryptollennium. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back with more coverage on this tomorrow, so stay tuned. Please like and subscribe, and I hope everyone is well out there. Take care.